Welcome to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast, the place for scrappy entrepreneurs who want to learn actionable steps and strategies to grow the traffic, sales, and profit in your e-commerce business. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster, a 20-year retail veteran and former brick-and-mortar boutique owner who spent 3 years as the only employee of a 7-figure online store. That shit was crazy. I know exactly how it feels to do all the things, and I'm sharing everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I may have started this business by accident, but supporting badass bosses like you lights me the fuck up, and I am so stoked to see you grow. Are you ready, babe? Let's roll. Welcome back to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster. With the unofficial kickoff to summer right around the corner, aka Memorial Day, it got me thinking about the patterns I've seen among entrepreneurs once the summer hits. It generally goes one of two ways. Either they step away from their business as much as possible, doing the bare minimum to stay afloat, or they want to take advantage of the summer sales slump to do deep work and accomplish big things. Which one of those is right for you is going to completely depend on where you're at in your business and life, what your priorities are at the moment, and it will likely change from year to year. No matter which path you take this summer, I want to help you optimize that strategy. Welcome to part 1 of a 2-part series on surviving the summer as an entrepreneur. In today's episode, we'll talk about how you can set yourself up for success so you can step away from your business without the guilt. Next week, we'll talk about how to capitalize on the slow season to make big strides in your business and what I recommend you focus on. The first and most important step in setting yourself up for success this summer is to get clear on your priorities. As entrepreneurs, it's really easy to think everything in our business and everything we do day to day is equally important, but rarely is that the case. The 80-20 rule rings true for most things in life and business, which means 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your effort, just like 80% of your sales are likely going to come from 20% of your products. So step 1 is just get really clear on what those products and activities are so you can put the majority of your focus on these over the next few months, spend more time away from your business, and leave the rest for later. When it comes to streamlining things, what I usually talk to my clients and students about is doing less, especially with their marketing strategy. Instead of trying to do all the things, focus on what has the biggest impact on your business. And that's likely email marketing and one social media channel. And if organic social is working as poorly for you as it is for most of the people I talk to, maybe it's time to invest in some paid marketing. The nice thing about paid marketing is that it's essentially a sales machine that works for you even when you aren't. Coupled with email, it's one of the most powerful marketing tools you have at your disposal. Yes, you have to take some time up front to dial in your ad strategy, but truth is, with the way ads work now, it's a lot simpler than you think. If that's something you want to learn, I encourage you to join us in the lounge. Our new ad strategist, Anna, is there to support you, and we just did a mini training on how to set up your ad account when you have a small budget. I've also been releasing a bunch of new content for the ads course, including worksheets, to help you figure out what you can afford to spend on ads and how to monitor your overall performance. And if you just want someone to do them for you, Anna offers done-for-you services. If you're not quite ready for paid ads, that's totally fine. Just get clear on the platforms that actually make a difference for you instead of trying to be on all of them. And you can even look at how often you're posting. Maybe you can post less, or maybe you can just put less effort into every post that you create. In episode 278, I talked about the changes to the Instagram algorithm and what that means for you. And one of the big takeaways there is to aim for quantity over quality. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be posting every day, multiple times a day. It just means that not everything you post has to be the most amazing post ever. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about how you can streamline the time you have to spend on social this summer. Speaking of streamlining, are there things on your to-do list that a machine can do for you? From list growth to customer service, email marketing, and social media, there are a lot of things you can do to streamline the day-to-day operations of your business with the help of technology. While it does take a bit of time to set up these automations, the long-term benefit far outweighs the initial time investment, and it will certainly let you step away from the business knowing that it's running on autopilot as much as possible. I took a deep dive into the 12 things you can automate in your e-commerce business on episode 195, so check that out if you need a little inspiration. So what if you have tasks that can't necessarily be automated but are below your CEO pay grade? Well, it might be time to farm those out to someone else, even if it's only temporary. That could look like getting a VA to handle customer service inquiries or a college student who is home for the summer to help you with order fulfillment. Whether you're hiring for the first time or you already have a team, you'll want to make sure you're setting them up for success too. So make sure your processes and answers to frequently asked questions are documented. Give your team the information they need to do their job well without having to reach out to you. This can be especially important when it comes to customer service issues. Let them know how to handle certain situations ahead of time, like a return request outside of your return window, a customer who forgot to enter their discount code at checkout, a package that got lost, or something that arrived damaged. Most employees are going to be afraid of honoring this type of request without your green light. So give them some parameters around when they can make the call on their own and when they need to reach out to you. For example, if the return request is within 7 days of your normal policy, maybe they can honor it, and then anything longer than that, they have to reach out to you for approval. If an item is damaged, maybe they just have to ask the customer to send a photo, and once it's confirmed, you'll send them a replacement. I would also give them scripts to handle these sorts of inquiries so you can make sure the customer knows you're doing them a favor and you don't accidentally set a precedent that makes the customer feel like they're entitled to that resolution all the time. Of course, you won't be able to think of every scenario possible, but try and focus on the most common and most complicated. Next up is to decide on your work schedule. Have you ever heard the concept that things will take you as long as you give yourself to do them? This definitely rings true for me, and it has my entire life. Even in school, I was always the girl finishing up a semester project a few days before it was due. Most of the time, I would kick myself for not starting it sooner, but at some point, I just decided to lean into that as my superpower. I work well under pressure, and it does me no good to try and fight that all the time. The same can be true for you in your business this summer and beyond. Now, I'm not advocating for waiting for the last minute for everything, but put some parameters around your work, because one of the worst feelings is being stuck in your office when your family and friends are out enjoying the summer. Being an entrepreneur means you get to set your own schedule, so be intentional about when you're going to work and when you're going to play. Maybe that means you only work 2 days a week, but for 8 hours at a time. Or maybe you work 5 days a week for 4 hours when your kids are at camp. Figure out a schedule that feels good and is conducive to the way you work. Forcing yourself to work 2 full days when you can only be productive for a few hours at a time probably isn't a great fit. However you decide to structure your week, I bet you can get a lot more done in a lot less time than you think. And when you're only focused on the things that truly matter and truly move the needle, and you've automated things and delegate things, you probably don't need as many hours anyway. And if you're not 100% sure how to get more done in less time, try batching your work. I talk more about this in episode 9 of the podcast, but the general idea is that you do the same type of work in one sitting instead of switching between different types of tasks. For example, separating creative and admin work. Truth be told, batching isn't for everyone, or it might only be good for some things. For instance, I can't batch podcast scripts. It takes too much brain power, and there's a lot of research and organization and, links to other podcast episodes. But I can batch recordings. I'm great at batching course content and client work, but not my own emails. Some days I'm better at batching than others, and sometimes it just depends on the type of work. Like, sure, I can batch admin things that don't take a lot of brain power, but creatively I get tapped out. You'll have to figure out a groove that works for you, but it can be a game changer, especially if you plan to work fewer hours or want to step away from the business for longer periods of time. I would get started with things like email and social media, because if you can batch and schedule those ahead of time, then you don't have to worry about it when you want to head to the beach or a theme park in the middle of the week. And don't beat yourself up if you're not great at it at first. Like all things in life, it takes a little practice. So there you have it. 6 things you can do to set yourself up for success and survive the summer as an entrepreneur. Make sure you check the show notes for the other podcast episodes I mentioned and some additional resources to support you. Join me next week where we'll dive into how you can capitalize on the summer sales slump to make big strides in your business, and I'll walk you through what I recommend you focus on. Same time, same place. And that, my friends, is a wrap. I hope you have a kick-ass rest of your day, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about growing your e-commerce business, get started with my free resource library at ecommercebadassery.com/free stuff and get an invite to the Lounge, my e-commerce marketing membership. When you're ready for one-on-one support, apply to work with me at ecommercebadassery.com/apply. Before you go, would you do me a quick favor? Leave a rating and review and tap that follow button. This pushes me up the chart so I can support more scrappy e-commerce entrepreneurs just like you. I'm on a mission to reach as many as I can, and I could really use your help. Thanks so much in advance. Until next time, e-commerce friend, stay badass.